All right, everybody, welcome back to Beans No Ball. Finally, gonna get into our mock draft 1.0. I think we're only probably gonna do two, but right now it feels like a really good time to do it. Post combine, right before free agency. It's like a good feel for before any major trades happen, before anyone signs. Here's our first gauge at what we think is gonna happen, and of course, we're not gonna mess with any trades. Not gonna adjust the full whoever's set right now. That's who we're going with. So starting with the Bears, Christian, I think we have a pretty big consensus. So I think you can start us off here.
Yeah, I think, with everything going on with the Chicago Bears, with Justin Fields most likely leaving, going to seek a new team, and how we said we'd rather have Justin Fields stay with the Bears. He's obviously going to be gone, before the start of the season, and, without a doubt, it's probably going to be undoubtedly Caleb Williams will be taken with the number one pick for the Chicago Bears. Obviously, my only concern here is, the Bears, they've had history with sucking at developing players, and that's the only thing I'm really worried about. Caleb Williams here, he's not going to be able to strive in Chicago.
Yeah, I have the same concerns here. We see, he's probably, the most tools that at the position. He's like easily the best prospect, but
Yeah.
we see some tendencies. Maybe he might struggle, and with a team like the Bears, who knows how much they're gonna get out of him. But going on to our second pick, with I think the number two. I think it's pretty much a consensus. The number two quarterback, Drake May. This is something that I kind of talked about with you a little bit. I was kind of falling into the like. I mean, you always say this about Ohio State quarterbacks. I kind of thinking, oh, it's a number 10 white quarterback from North Carolina, shades of Mitchell Trubisky. But, you really look at Drake May's game, and he's a hell of a talent. We'll probably, go into some more analysis on him. But easily to me, I got to say the Commanders got to make this pick.
Yeah, obviously, Commanders picking a quarterback with the second pick. That's obviously looking to see it. And obviously, poor Sam Howell. Obviously, I wanted Commanders probably keeps Howell developing a little more, build around him, because honestly, Howell, he does have some potential, right? But obviously, earlier on, I kind of expected, the Commanders would probably get Jaden Daniels, and that's coming into the third pick with the Patriots getting Jaden Daniels. Obviously, with Mac Jones finally leaving, with a Brissett up in the mantle, I think it's pretty much undoubtedly as well. The Patriots are another team to get a quarterback here. Obviously, Jaden Daniels from LSU. I mean, we saw a lot of people. He's one of the two quarterbacks, just like Daniels and even Penix. A lot of people are really doubting Jaden Daniels for his talent, especially coming into the Patriots to take over. And not a race or anything, but looking at with how the new quarterback situation is here, and with the coaching with May back at the head coach position. So obviously, it could be a 1-2 punch, just like a 1-2 punch I was with DeMeco Ryans and CJ Stroud. Hopefully, they can do the same thing here in Patriots with Jaden Daniels and Mayo at the head coach position.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of thinking the same thing. I was thinking, maybe the Commanders can get an idea of Daniels, but with Daniels, the thing with me, I think, it could be a little bit of fool's gold. This is something I told you a bit. He's got that elite receiver talent that we're gonna get into in a little bit, and he did have, might be just went on a little run to win the Heisman's. Take your pick. That's a take that I'm gonna have. We'll see. Honestly, if maybe the Patriots go on and get a veteran quarterback, there you could see a Marvin Harrison getting drafted here. But with them going quarterback, it falls right into the Cardinals' lap. And obviously, we've been talking about this all regular season. The Cardinals. This is exactly what we wanted the Cardinals to end up getting. We wanted them to hold on to Kyler Murray, and obviously with his resurgence after coming back from that ACL injury, they're obviously gonna roll with him, and it really gives them the opportunity to finally get a wide receiver one in him. I'm pretty sure they're keeping Hollywood Brown, so that's going to be a pretty solid 1-2 punch. Obviously gives Hollywood Brown to be that number two receiver instead of the one that he really doesn't have the capability of being just yet.
Yeah, obviously, from the starts of the season, last season, Marvin Harrison, with the way the Cardinals were there, he's already projected to, be drafted with the Cardinals with the one pick, but also, the trades with Carolina and Chicago. If, symmetry, that's right here, and obviously Marvin Harrison Jr. is another big win for Kyler Murray. Like you said, exactly what we wanted the Cardinals to exactly develop Murray coming off that injury, and he's going to strive. He's going to strive regardless, and with having the more weapon help on offense, hopefully bolster up that defense, it'll be a lot of help for them. Now moving on to the fifth pick with the Chargers, obviously lots of need here, especially with the tight end. Brock Bowers from Georgia, on him being obviously the number one tight end in this draft, he'd probably make a big sensation with Justin Herbert, obviously with Keenan Allen, and I think I already forgot his name. The Williams.
Talk about the guy from
the Chargers, the receiver.
Yeah. From TCU that they drafted last season.
Yeah. Quinnen Williams, obviously, he had a big struggle. I'm still rooting for him.
Quentin Johnston, that's who it was.
Quentin Johnston.
The drops, right?
Yeah, no. I knew him. It
Oh,
was
Mike
Quinn
Williams. There
Williams.
we go. Yeah,
Mike,
yeah.
Yeah, that's where I was. Okay, it
Okay.
was obviously another underrated play on that Chargers offense, and then with Justin Herbert coming back, Brock Bowers could be a really big help at the tight end spot for Justin Herbert.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of talk, maybe they probably should go O-line, but I think with a talent like Brock Bowers, I mean, I think it's a can't miss talent. He's basically your Travis Kelce, Sam Laporta type prospect in this draft, and I think, to give that type of weapon to Justin Herbert, I think you can't miss that. And going on the number 6 pick, this one has a lot of questions to it. Now, would the Giants be someone to trade up? I would honestly think they're a possibility, but obviously we're not getting into that. They probably, if Jaden Daniels was to fall here, that'd be their optimal pick. But I mean, we see Malik Neighbors is here, that's a possibility, but I can't really see them going receiver. I think they need to bolster that O-line, and to go with that, there's only one guy they really look at. It's Joe Alt, the guy from Notre Dame. I mean, I can't really say too much about him. He's obviously been the top talent. I mean, this is someone that I kind of mocked a bit to the Titans for a bit. Obviously, we know they're the ones that need that talent. We're gonna get into that just a little bit, but I think Joe Alt's easily gonna be. I mean, if we're gonna see the Giants actually maybe ride it out with Daniel Jones just for one last chance with him.
Yeah, like you said about Daniel Jones, with the Giants already being done with him, so obviously the quarterback play is already going to be different there. But that O-line for the Giants are just one of the couple teams that really do need help at the O-line. And Joe, that big dude, that tackle, like you said for Notre Dame, he's going to make a big impact for that O-line. Just really all depends on the quarterback and how much it's going to play a part. Speaking of another team that really needs a lot of O-line help is the Tennessee Titans. Now they've had a problem with the O-line help, especially after them losing a lot of key players here. And obviously, I'm sorry if I butchered the name. But the tackle from Penn State, Olamuya Fashuna, I don't know. I'm really
I think I'm gonna try it. I think it's Olumi. Yeah, the first name I'm not gonna get it, but I think it's Fashanu.
Yeah, obviously he's another one of the tackle prospects, leading into this draft. Another really big guy, you compare him with Joe Alt, but really big key
we kind of looked at his game a little bit, just you and me, and
yeah,
that dude's a unit, man.
Yeah, he can really do everything, and obviously with Will Levis in the back here, he's really gonna protect Willis right then and there.
Yeah, and look, I mean, there's a lot of other, tackle prospects. Some people are maybe thinking Fuaga or forgots the guy from Washington, Fontenot, but I mean, I really love Fashanu. All these names, it's tough to get mixed up with them. It's these Samoans, and they're just
units, man.
They're just units, man. And we'll move it into the Falcons. Now, this is another pick that who knows what they're gonna do. This is going to be something that we'll wait and see more on free agency when we really get an opportunity to see what they do at the quarterback position. But right now is my expectation that they're going to get a quarterback in free agency. And I don't really think they need many more weapons. It's just something I was talking about with you. I think they're pretty set with Drake London and Kyle Pitts and, that core of weapons. So I think on defense, they're probably going. Christian, this is gonna be our first edge. I know you love a good edge on defense.
I do love
I'm gonna have to go Dallas Turner. Just an absolute wrecking ball on that Alabama defense. Got to see him a lot more in the college football playoff against Michigan. I mean, he was giving JJ McCarthy fits, and I really like his game. I think it's gonna step up Atlanta's defense a lot, which they did show a lot of great signs last season in the secondary more than anything. So I think if they can bolster up that D line, it's gonna be a really help Raheem Morris next season.
Yeah, obviously looking more into him, that was kind of another guy with the way he was playing, a nice good run stopper, a nice quick guy off the edge. Hopefully the Cowboys could, make a run for him, but with his playability, he's arguably a top 10 pick. And with Atlanta, obviously like you said, they're set with Drake London and Pitts and Bijan, but always nice to add another offensive weapon there. But with the way that young defense is, it's always nice to bolster with Dallas Turner. Now moving with the 9th pick, with arguably one of the top receiver prospects here, with Rome Odunze going to the Chicago Bears. Now obviously, if it wasn't Marvin Harrison going for the Chicago Bears, it's probably going to be Rome Odunze. I mean, looking at his game with Washington, obviously he was paired with Penix, so obviously he did have a pretty good quarterback with him. Rome Odunze, that was another guy kind of more looking into with the Cowboys here. Maybe make a trade right then and there, but he's a really top prospect for
would Jerry do that?
Would Jerry do that? No, obviously, but top 10 pick, probably the better receiver prospect in this upcoming draft.
Yeah, because I mean, look, the main, I mean, this is a little question for a lot of people. I mean, I made this mock more than anything. And a big surprise to a lot of people, Rome Odunze over Malik Neighbors. I mean, to me, I'm really thinking, I like Rome Odunze a lot more as a prospect. I mean, I think, comparatively, one had the Heisman winner, one had Michael Penix, who I'm not as high on Michael Penix, so I think the what Romo Dunze was able to do, I like him more as a prospect, and for him to go on the Bears. And I think going down to the 10th pick with the Jets, this is a big piece that, it really just falls right into their nap. I'll have them take Malik Neighbors, the obviously the star LSU receiver. He obviously has his own great characteristics, and I think it's going to be a great weapon for Aaron Rodgers. As much as they really do need O-line, and there's a lot of great O-line prospects, I think this is just a can't miss prospect at the receiver position.
Yeah, Malik Neighbors, yeah, especially him with, coming to LSU and obviously getting paired up with Jaden Daniels. I know, like you said, with Jaden Daniels, he had the weapons around him, especially with that receiving core, and, Malik Neighbors being that top guy from that receiving core. There was another guy I was really looking into, obviously coming to the pre-combine, a really, really great speed guy, and obviously his route running and the catching really, really makes me phenomenal. And again, him getting paired up with Garrett Wilson, especially with the looks what the Jets are, I think him could be a really make a big 1-2 punch. Now moving up the 11th pick with the Minnesota Vikings. Now this is a team, obviously it can go either way with a lot of positions they really need. I mean, sure you can throw in the O-line, but really looking at the defense, that secondary, man. I mean, that secondary is what's really been bolstering them, and obviously Quinion Mitchell from Toledo, that could be a really great fit for him. Obviously, really like to see him in man coverage more. And Minnesota, like I said, hey, there's another team they can go in or with the positions here, but I think a cornerback's really, really their main focus point right here.
Yeah, when I made this pick, I'm really thinking like this is someone that I really would have loved to fall to the Rams at 19, but ever since I think it was the Senior Bowl and ever since the Combine, he's just been shooting up the draft boards, and I mean with good reason. He is such an athletic guy. I mean, it's becoming more mainstream how good of a player he really is, and I think people really have him as like their cornerback 2 in some positions. He's my cornerback 2 in this draft, but I think the Vikings are just, I mean, they like you said, they really need secondary help, and I think they're gonna fall for the pro day and all that stuff, and I think they're gonna fall in love with Quinion Mitchell. But going into pick number 12, this is gonna be our biggest surprise for some people. Now we know with the situation the Broncos are in right now, they lost a quarterback, and that's gonna be their main concern right now. And who better than JJ McCarthy? Now to me, I wasn't always as big on him, but he's also been a high riser since the Combine and all this stuff. Not sure why to some extent, but I mean, in all reality, I do like him as a prospect. I think he's one of those guys. I mean, we see Patrick Mahomes and I believe it was Zach Wilson, guys that really randomly shot up. It could turn into a Pat Mahomes type scenario or a Zach Wilson. I think he's going to be somewhere in between, and I think it's going to be turned into a little bit of a smart pick for the Broncos here.
Yeah, I know. Obviously, a lot of people are really not sold on JJ McCarthy. I know, obviously, in the championship game, he really, really, really didn't do much. Obviously, getting carried by the
but
whole.
But you didn't have to. He has so many weapons.
Yeah. A lot of offense a lot of offensive weapons on that side of the ball. So obviously, JJ McCarthy, a lot of less pressure on him. A lot of people are not sold on him. Who knows if this could be another, Anthony Richardson type situation. A lot of people were doubting him, pre-draft and see what he's able to do. It could be here, but looking into the Broncos situation. I was right
about Richardson. Let's see if I can be right about McCarthy.
Yeah, obviously looking at the Broncos situation, they're really needing a quarterback help. Now we went to the 13th pick. Obviously this draft is heavy on corners and receivers, but with the Raiders, really looked into the bolster up that defense, going with the cornerback here with Teron Arnold from Alabama. Obviously, it was another key point in that secondary in the Alabama defense. Obviously with the Raiders defense, it's been going in at a very steady incline. Past season, the defense has been stepping up, but obviously with the secondary spots, they still have a little bit of trouble. Same team, look, their team like the Vikings, a pretty young, nice defense, but they need secondary help. And Teron Arnold, I really like the way he played on the defense in Alabama. He's a really big key centerpiece in that secondary, so I feel a great fit with the Raiders team here.
Yeah, I mean, Arnold's my cornerback 1. This is someone else. I mean, there's those 2 Bama guys, 2 guys I really like that we're gonna get into someone in a couple picks. But I mean, yeah, he's a really great prospect to me. My favorite one at the cornerback position, and like you said, I forget who it is, but the Raiders did just pick but last season they picked up a corner from the Patriots that really did help him out. So I think he's going to be a really good help out with that duo and really strengthen up that secondary. But moving into the 14th pick with the Saints, I think they're going to be jumping for joy that Talise Fuaga is going to fall to them at this position. I'm sure they need quarterback, but I don't think they're going to be sold on these quarterbacks, and at least the guys that are left. So I think they're going to have to go with a tackle, and they're going to go with Fuaga, just an absolute unit. Just another one of these guys from Oregon State, really really was impressed with his game playing at I guess a smaller school for what that's worth, even if it is in the Pac-12. But I think he does have a pretty bright future as long as he develops good. We know the Saints are pretty good at developing O linemen.
Yeah, without a doubt, like you said, that last line right there about the Saints and the O-line, they're really, really good with the O-line. Obviously, the Saints, with their O-line, we've obviously been, some recent history with having a good O-line. Obviously, just coming into the quarterback play, but, Fuaga, the tackle, obviously, we're going to make a big centerpiece to that O-line as well. Now, closing out with the 15th pick with the Colts. Obviously, this was a Colts team that, they came from the dubs, man. Obviously, with, Gardner Minshew kind of bringing them back here, and then, the defense kind of stunning them a bit. But Cooper Dijon, if I did not butcher, yeah, Cooper Dijon, so did not butcher that name, thank God. So Cooper Dijon, obviously, his stock's been rising at that cornerback spot. Obviously, this, like I said, it's a cornerback heavy, it's a defensive back heavy, I should say, draft as well. So Cooper Dijon
is DB heavy when you got a white corner.
Yeah, white corner. That's kind of the really big thing. I was kind of confused on a white corner for the first time in almost 2 decades, if I'm not mistaken here.
I think there is a white corner in the league right now, but regardless, you don't really see that. That's the point.
Yeah, you don't really see that, but when looking at his play, man, I mean that kind of sold me a bit. Yeah, he's nice, and it really did sell me a bit.
Yeah, a lot of people do have him as their cornerback 1. I would love it if he falls to the Rams at 19 years. I mean, as you can see, we need a corner. So you'll definitely see that comes once we get to 19. But getting into number 16, this is, I would say, another surprise to some. I think even you were surprised when I brought this up to you. I'm going to go with Michael Penix Jr. for the Seahawks. Now, we look at that, that in-state connection, staying in Washington. I'm not, the most sold on his game, but I know the Seahawks have been really high on him as of late. And I mean, look, a lot of people, can't think, that lefty form, it could be fool's gold, but with the right development, I really think it's going to be, they'd be in a really good position with him. And, right now, they have Geno Smith and Drew Lock, how sustainable is that going to end up being? And, with a rookie coach and Mike McDonald, a rookie defensive coach, I don't know how much the development's gonna fare, maybe the first couple of years, but if this could be a Jordan Love type situation, I think the Seahawks, unfortunately for me in division, but this could be a smart pick for them.
Yeah, obviously Penix dropping this little low in the first round, kind of key to my surprise here, but obviously, like you said, he's another quarterback in the position where, he had a lot of weapons right from there. But with the quarterback play in Seattle, like you said, Drew Lock and Geno Smith, Michael Penix having a younger guy there, it could be a decent fit for there. I'm honestly still rooting for Penix for obviously a lot of people still bringing him down there. But obviously now moving on to the 17th pick, the Jaguars. Obviously the Jaguars had a huge collapse on, both sides of the ball. A lot of key pieces here, but obviously with Trevor Lawrence as well, you want to protect Trevor Lawrence because obviously that O-line was really, really detrimental to them as well. And then Jackson Powers-Johnson for the 17th pick. Obviously, he's another absolute unit. That's another really high prospect here coming into this draft here. I kind of see him more fit in with the 17th pick. I know a lot of Cowboys fans like me, myself, looking more into it with the O-line with the 24th pick, but I feel like he just has a little bit more depth there. Probably going to get taken early on.
Yeah, I mean, this is someone, honestly, to me, the one guy outside a corner that I would really love to see the Rams get if he did fall this low, but probably won't see that happening, as he's probably the top center prospect. He's my favorite prospect at the center position. So, I mean, easy to see. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes even higher, but my opinion, that's where he goes. And going down to the Bengals at 18, this is someone that, he was projected to go a lot higher. He was, I think, a top 10 prospect to a lot of teams. And I think it's a really big surprise if this ends up happening, but I think he will fall depending on other needs. And I think we're going to see the Cincinnati Bengals falling into one of their exact needs on the defensive side of the ball. I think it's going to be a really solid move for them.
Yeah, obviously the Bengals are coming more into defense here. That's kind of what they need to bolster up, especially that lead line. Obviously, really good pair up with Hendrickson as well. They end up falling for this pick and Byron Murphy, the way he's been saying with Texas. I don't know. I have some bias for Texas boys. I don't know. I just love the Texas team, but watching him play could be a really good fit for them as well. And this is your pick, so I think I'll let you take the lead for the 19th pick for the Rams.
I appreciate that. And yeah, so as much as I've been reiterating it about 20 times in this video, we need a corner. So I think the best, there's a couple, at least 3 that I would say, I'd be comfortable with if the draft shook out this way. A lot of people see Nate Wiggins and they think, they're really high on him. But in my own eyes, I really like, just like I said, those Alabama guys. I think the Rams, if it shook out this way, I think we would go for Kool-Aid McKinstry, probably the coolest name in this draft. Yeah, pretty solid name to say the least, but he's not just a cool name, he's a solid corner, really good in man coverage, which I know in Raheem Morris's scheme we would do a lot of man coverage, and wouldn't really work out. We wouldn't even have the guys for man coverage. So seeing it still basically is Raheem's scheme now that we have someone we hired in-house with Chris Shula. So I think Kool-Aid is gonna fit perfectly. I'm probably not gonna be a day one game changer, but with the right development, I think he definitely has a great chance to be a lockdown corner.
Yeah, obviously, like you're talking about the man coverage, Kool-Aid, he's obviously a dog at that man coverage position with Raheem Morris. That's usually what he likes to run, and that's kind of like the big, the negative impact the Rams did have. The corners kept getting breaks, especially, Darion Kendrick, the infamous dude right there. So obviously, really be a big help. And then the Steelers, moving into the 20th pick, obviously second year in a row that they will be drafting a corner, Nate Wiggins from Clemson. Obviously, I really like his play there. Obviously, he's not a guy who really falls for those double moves, and obviously, that's really like to see there. And obviously, him paired up with Joey Porter Jr. on the cornerback side as well. I feel that those two could really be a huge help in that secondary position. Hopefully leave off the pressure from T.J. Watt. Being that dog in the defensive line.
Yeah, I mean, like I just said, in this last one, I wouldn't mind a guy like Nate Wiggins. He's phenomenal. He doesn't get used as much in man coverage, so that's something that I guess maybe would be a turnoff for me. He isn't seen as that lockdown potential, but he's still a can't miss prospect, and I really do think he also has those capabilities depending on how he develops. Now going into the Miami Dolphins pick, this one, they're only shown as tight end and O-line on their needs, but I could honestly say they probably do have a couple more needs, even defensive side of the ball, if we're being honest. But I am gonna go with someone because surprising to see him fall this low in J.C. Latham. Definitely another unit this coming from Alabama, and we know they are very much well known for great O-line play. So I think it's gonna be a big surprise for the Miami Dolphins, and they'll be very, very elated to get a guy like this coming into their O-line.
Yeah, obviously Miami, they're pretty much more positions, but obviously, with the departure of Xavier Howard, you kind of hope so. You throw a cornerback there in the mix as well, but O-line, protect Tua as well. That's kind of another big thing too. Now moving on to the Philadelphia Eagles, a team whose defense. Now this is the big thing here, the collapse that they had, and the thing I called, in the midseason that the defense gonna have a collapse. That's exactly what I called. And Ennis Rakestraw Jr. Thankfully, I didn't butcher that name, but Rakestraw Jr., another great fit for that Philadelphia Eagles team at the specifically the secondary position. I know a lot of people, they would want to see Philadelphia hopefully take some linebackers as well. That's really another big thing that they need, and maybe another interior D-line, especially with the loss of Fletcher Cox as well.
Yeah, this is something I was telling you when we were going over this mock draft. It's a bit surprising. We see a big run on corners, and all my favorite guys are gone by the time the Eagles really need to pick up a corner. So regardless, Ennis Rakestraw is still someone that I've seen his game from a bit. He plays in Missouri, so he plays in the SEC, and they got great competition down there. Depending on how he develops in Phillies, we'll see how much that defensive scheme really works for him. But I definitely think it'd be the smartest pick to that point. But moving on to Houston with a pick that they got from the Deshaun Watson trade again from Cleveland. If I butcher this name, at this point I don't care. It's a UCLA guy, but it's Laiatu Latu, for another edge rusher from the other school out in Westwood. And I think, as much as I hate UCLA, this guy's a dog too. He's great from the edge, and we see the Texans, they might, sure, they already got Will Anderson last season in the draft, so to see, it's not too crazy of a need on the edge, but I think this is typically more of a can't miss prospect. You see, maybe their needs are a little more taken, and a guy like Latu is definitely someone that they won't want to miss. And of course, Christian, I know your pick's coming up next.
Yeah, obviously before getting to that, like I said with Latu, obviously like you said, I really love a good edge, right? The Texans, especially on the D line with Will Anderson, obviously it looks set, but obviously like you said, can't miss prospect. Kind of wait to see him develop for hopefully a year, and obviously get the starting position there, and obviously get all the obviously all the training that he needs. Obviously, so Latu can make a really nice impact too, especially on the side with Will Anderson as well. And now moving on to my pick, which is obviously I'm really not bad. because Amarius Mims from Georgia, he's another unit. He's another dog on that O-line position. I know Georgia has been having a really like once again, like every year, Georgia's always have been having some great prospects
Which
here.
especially seeing your O-line, what's going to end up happening if you lose?
Yeah, the O-line's already Tyron Smith. So
Tyron Smith,
he's already gone at the guard position. So obviously, I've had a lot of things to say. With Tyler Smith, obviously moving to tackle to hopefully the guard position, where obviously little struggles in the guard position as well. But that's kind of the more point with to move him there. Terrence Steele, obviously the injury he had 2 years ago that I kind of let him down last year, was kind of a worse O-line there. And then with TJ Bass moving into a little bit more in the O-line, but obviously the O-line is really huge struggles for that Cowboys team. And you kind of see it moving on towards late season, and even in the playoff game against the Packers, that O-line was really struggled there. Really on that O-line, all we got is just Zach Martin and Taylor Bardish at that center position. But I'm really not upset about the Amarius Mims here, especially since Jerry is probably going to force the need here. And really, if Paris Johnson ends up dropping to us, I would honestly be very much more happy for that pick here. Unless Keon Coleman is on the board. I want Coleman in Dallas so
I'm telling
bad,
you, I really,
especially with Gallup.
I mean, if Jerry ends up forcing something that he doesn't even need at receiver, then sure, there's a possibility for that. But I mean, if we're just gonna stay on Amarius Mims, I think he's definitely a versatile player. I mean, you're saying, your main need is a guard. I see him very easily, transitioning from a tackle to a guard. And I mean, forget forcing a need. This is definitely one of the
probably the need.
It's a great O-line draft. It's a really solid draft to say the least. I mean, we'll see in a couple years how much it actually shakes out. But I really like Amarius Mims as a prospect, and I think he's a perfect guy for the Cowboys. And we'll move it into the 25th pick, and for Carvajal, see who we're gonna get on for him. And I think they got their own needs, but I think one that a lot of people would agree is a tackle, and I think a perfect guy for them would be Troy Fontenot. I think I got that right. Obviously, a Pac-12 tackle. Just we know the Pac-12 as a whole usually has a good track record on the O-line, and I haven't seen his game as much, but I hear the buzz. I hear a lot of people really like. I think he ran like a sub 540 at the draft. Doesn't really matter for what it's worth, but I remember he had a really good combine, so obviously that might have him rising the draft boards. But if he falls to the Packers, it's going to be, I can't say they won't be happy about that.
Yeah, obviously, once again, it's another really O-line heavy draft. A lot of key positions here as well, especially looking at the Packers team with Jordan Love finally looking at the starter for the team here. Obviously, great protection. You really need some protection for him. Obviously, that O-line is kind of having a little down here towards midseason. And now moving into the 26th pick with the Bucs team. Obviously, this Bucs defense, that was kind of the story for the year. Obviously, the offense was obviously developing and improving. The defense was obviously having the huge decline. And Jared Verse from FSU, he's obviously another FSU player that's coming into this draft. A lot of expectations coming for him. Like I said, love the good edge. Looking at him, he really liked the game fear for him. And especially, I think with Shaq Barrett, if I'm not mistaken, him departing from the Buccaneers not that long ago. I think it was Shaq.
Yeah.
So obviously. Yeah, so losing Shaq Barrett, obviously with Jared Verse taking a position there could be a really good spot for the Buccaneers.
Yeah, and obviously we see video will probably already be up by the time this video is out, but they did just sign, as we see right now, Baker Mayfield to his own extension. So definitely a guy Baker Mayfield will be happy to have if this ends up happening on the other side of the ball. And we'll go into 27 with the Arizona Cardinals, a pick they got from Houston in last year's draft. And I think this is someone, Christian, that a lot of Cowboys fans were mocking to them, so we'll see if that ends up happening. But Tyler Guyton from Oklahoma, it's all these O-line powerhouses, and they're showing why they're O-line powerhouses, taking out pumping out really solid players like this. I'll be honest, I haven't seen a lot of his game as much, but he has all the buzz around his name. He's someone that I think Kyler Murray would really be happy to have on a team. They really, for what it's worth, they do need some O-line help, and coming off of an ACL, I know he already had a couple weeks to play on it, but you never know. You really do need that protection for Kyler.
Yeah, man. Obviously, look at Twitter just kind of get some more info with the drafts. Guyton, he's another really favorite guy for the Cowboys for a tackle position, since O-line's a big need here, but obviously bolstering up that O-line for Kyler is just a really nice need here for the Cardinals, and having 2 first rounders, why not get an O-line, better protection. And now with the 28th pick, now this is to the another comes to surprise with Brian Thomas Jr. kind of falling this late. But I mean, like you said, I mean, not a lot. Most of these teams they're not really relying on receiver here, and obviously, with the other LSU receiver Malik Neighbors. I mean, Brian Thomas here kind of living in the shadow here. Looking more into his game. I would say him and Neighbors are kind of neck to neck. Obviously, Neighbors getting more of the bright spot here, but Brian Thomas, another underrated receiver on that LSU receiving core. I mean, just like. He kind of reminds me of like Cooper, a little bit of Amari Cooper just from the route running standpoint there, but obviously with the Buffalo Bills and then with Stephon Diggs not really living up to the expectation, Gabe Davis having a little fall off, having another weapon for Josh Allen, like Brian Thomas Jr. would be a really great step in the direction for that offense.
Yeah, and you weren't too familiar with him. I kind of showed you a little bit of his game about a week ago, and and
then I'm actually looking into it. I mean, like you said,
that's what I'm saying. That's why we know that wide receiver talent that comes out of LSU. I mean, I really like him, and seeing who knows what the situation with Stephon Diggs. We have seen rumors about him. If he ends up being a replacement, I don't think they'd have a problem with that. We'll see how that ends up going. But moving on to 29 with the Detroit Lions. Now this one, I think the glaring need here is going to be secondary. If they had a better secondary play, they probably would have played in the Super Bowl. So I think as much as there was already a big run on corners, I think their best bet right now would be TJ Tampa out of Iowa State. Now, I wasn't as familiar with him as well, but in the Big 12, there's a little lower level of competition if we're really being honest. But regardless, he's really high on a lot of draft boards, and to some people, he probably would have been expected to be drafted a little higher. But I think if it wasn't for all those other big name corners, I think this is a pretty good consolation prize for the Lions.
Yeah, obviously with the Lions, that defensive side as well, really huge step up. But obviously the secondary, that's kind of a bit iffy there. The same with you. Wasn't really familiar with TJ Tampa, but looking more into it. Obviously another great corner that really not looking into there. But with Detroit side, could be his useful pickup. And obviously closing it out with the last 3 picks, coming to the more late picks with the Baltimore Ravens. Obviously, that offense of the Ravens with the receivers, with the drops, that's kind of a big thing there with Zay Flowers. Them drafting another receiver, Troy Franklin, obviously looking to his game more with the Oregon Ducks. And, he had a good season. Getting for those 14 touchdown catches for the Oregon, and really dropping late. Just, like I said, it's not really team's not really receiver heavy here, but looking into his game, looking at some how he was doing in the combine and then some highlight clips from he was doing. I really like his game, and obviously a receiver for Baltimore Ravens, I would say it would kind of make sense, especially with the drops and Odell and then Zay Flowers getting paired up with him. A little bit more weapons here for Lamar Jackson if Lamar can get it. Obviously his passing there. I think it would be a great fit for them for the offense, but really it's just again, hopefully the drops aren't really a big deal for the Ravens. Second year in a row.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about that. I think this is just gonna be a big learning moment for Zay Flowers. But regardless, I think the main reason I went receiver in this pick for the Ravens is probably the departure of Odell and how much that really didn't work out for them. So I think giving that another try, seeing another receiver that they could probably check. I know there's the idea Keon Coleman's available in this mock. Would he be someone that they'd be interested in? But regardless, I honestly really I think Troy Franklin, at least prospect wise and maybe potential wise, I do like him, so I would expect to see them take him in this spot. And going into the hated Niners, they don't have, let's be honest, they don't have too many glaring needs. If we're being honest, I could honestly see them trading out of this, maybe getting some more capital later. But someone that interests me here, and this is what I was talking to you about, that they don't mind cycling that secondary, and the best secondary player available here is the safety Tyler Nubin from Minnesota. And I've heard a lot of great things from him. Haven't really gotten into looking at his film, but in high octane offense in the Big Ten, he's obviously made a name for himself up to this point. So I think if the Niners decide to hold on to this pick, this would be a great guy to take a flyer on and see what they can do to develop him.
Yeah, obviously, like you said, the Niners, they really don't need any glaring spots here. That whole team right now is pretty much set, but obviously at the safety,
maybe O-line, I guess.
O-line, sure, but obviously, defense kind of bolstered up just a bit there. Obviously, him getting paired with Funga, gonna be a nice set there. And I'm finally finishing up with the Chiefs pick with the third to pick, Ladd McConkey. McConkey. Excuse me.
Yeah.
McConkey. Yeah. Obviously, funky name there, but obviously, he's a really nice, elusive, speedy guy coming out of Georgia here. I think. Honestly, to my extent, I honestly, from the reports here, you kind of hopefully see the Chiefs can make a run at Xavier Worthy. Obviously, with the reports here,
that's because I don't see like what. Okay,
yeah, look, that's the
40-yard dash. That's
the
what we're gonna
speed
base
is
this
there.
off of.
Yeah, that's the thing too. I mean, the 40-yard dash. I mean, we saw with John Ross what happened here. So his stock was already rising because of that speed here, and that's I really hope Xavier Worthy won't be that guy coming out of Texas who ends up just.
Look, you love the Texas guys, and like I can see that. Don't get me wrong, but with other guys, I mean, okay, if they're not going McConkey, because McConkey's a phenomenal talent.
Oh yeah,
they'll probably go Coleman. I don't see Worthy sneaking into the top 10 if we're being honest, unless someone like the Raiders decide to just take this phenomenal approach, like, oh, he ran a quick 40. But just one more big surprise that I know you probably thought to maybe you didn't really think to bring up. I got Bo Nix out of the first round, and I think a lot of people would be surprised about that. But I'm not that high on him. I don't know how you feel about him.
Oh, honestly, I mean, like you said, man. I mean, looking more into his game, Bo Nix. I mean, I really don't see anything compared to these main prospects like Caleb Williams, Drake May, Daniels. Like just compared to that four, I just don't see the caliber that Bo Nix is compared to that four of them. And I think like I said, he reminded me of Justin Herbert, just a bit, if I'm not mistaken. Just throw that right there. Could have just been me yapping, but I mean, like you said, latest he'll drop maybe the third, but no later than that. Most likely, like I said, probably a second round pick.
Yeah, I think that's easily going to be consensus for most, but I mean, yeah, just as this wraps up a quick little, I guess, well, not that quick. We probably extended this a bit, but I mean, hey, all these different prospects, they deserve their own different type of analysis, and we'll get a more finalized version maybe like a week or two before the draft. But apart from that, once this is done, as we talked about in a prior video, free agency will be open in a couple hours once this video is out. So we'll definitely have some more content to give you guys. Hope you guys stick around for that, and hope you guys like and subscribe in this video, and we'll see you guys back for more.